How's everybody doing today? I have my friend Cleveland Green here. How are you doing today, Cleveland?
Oh man, just blessed. It's a beautiful day. Loving the weather, loving the newness of the morning. As you know, I'm a morning person, so I'm at my best early in the morning.
Okay. When I was thinking about this interview, the thoughts that came to my mind because you've mentioned so many things and your hand is in a lot of things that I thought of a jambalaya of life subjects.
Yeah.
And so the first subject that we're going to get off into today is what has enabled you to be successful in your church?
Well, I think that what has enabled me to be most successful in church and in service is that I was groomed from an early time to be connected in worship, in praising worship, and in the church atmosphere and environment. As you know, I'm from Louisiana. Most people from Louisiana are Catholic, not all. But my dad was Catholic and my mother was Baptist. So I had the benefit of being involved in both atmospheres. And as I grew into a teenager, I was able to actually make the decision in what I needed to, or what worked best for me, and what I thought was the best form of worship in church for myself. So I think it comes from a deep place where I was raised, instilling those principles and morals and values in young boys from an early start. I tell a lot of single mothers in particular that, especially who are going through trouble with their children, the young men, that oftentimes, you'll find that if you do all the right things that you're supposed to do and you put the work in and they take their own path, and sometimes they will, if you did everything that you were supposed to, it'll come full circle. If they live through it and survive, you'll see the benefits of the work that you put in, the labor that you put in, that you're struggling through, and the hard times that you're seeing right now. It'll come full circle if they live and survive it.
That's
You know.
that's so true because when you said that, I was speaking to a former gang member yesterday, and he was like, "Man, I'm having these meetings and I'm trying to figure out what we need to tell these young men because they're just going to do what they're going to do." And I said, first of all, your mindset needs to change because the same way that when we were incarcerated, you having not listened for quite some time, it's the seeds that are planted. And so when you come back and you say that seeds that were planted in you, I think that's so true that a lot of people are looking for instantaneous results. And it's really about we as individuals, we have to make a decision to make change. But all the good things that I heard from my mother and grandmother when I was younger concerning a relationship with God, they didn't seem to apply to me until I made a decision to get into a relationship with God. And that's when they helped. So I not only believe that that's good advice you're giving those mothers, I've taken that advice myself. Can you let us know some of the things you're involved in your local church? Because even upon my release, you were offering help and assistance through different programs. And so that may be of interest to someone.
Yes, of course. I'm intimately involved in the TORI program, which is Texas Offender Reentry Initiative. Of course, that's the Potter's House, TD Jakes' program. And so I became involved with the Jakes program. I guess I was probably on the youth unit in '99. It was my second unit that I had been on, and they would come religiously, man. And it was a place that I can go to because there's so much gang activity and violence and disruption. And I was engulfed in the legal process of trying to learn what had happened to me throughout the trial, and just trying to make sense of so many things. And it was a lot of confusion. So the church was a place that I was able to go to find solace and the little bit of love that was needed just to carry me through, from one day, from one atmosphere, from one incident to the next, from one day, from a day to day. And so I encountered the Potter's House ministry there. and it really affected us. Of course, Mike Barber would come through with his stuff, and so it was really a good place for me to be. That helped me, along my path, what I'm saying, to get to where I'm at today. Now, right now, I am a co-facilitator of the life languages class for Tory. It's a year-long program, the Tory program, but if you actually complete it, there are so many benefits involved. They teach you financial planning, financial literacy, life languages class, which is a communication skills class, and you can get GEDs. It's employment opportunities for people with pass. There's just so many benefits that you can get through the Tory program. And so right now that's I've been doing it now for about 4 years. I do attend the Potter's House Church, but that's not my primary church home. Of course, Dr. Tony Evans with Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. He is a teacher, a great teacher, and I listened to him every day on the radio when I was in the wilderness during my incarceration. And so that's my church that I actually go to and attend. But yeah, so we do a lot of volunteer work and just giving back to the community, man. I mean, as you know, to whom much is given, much is required. So you have to give back. You have to put the work in necessary, to help the people who are coming behind you.
So if there was a group of men and the prison or jail official said, before you are released, you have to watch this 3-minute video, what would you tell those men in 3 minutes, or women in 3 minutes on a video that would help based off of your experience and what you've seen that will prepare them? I know 3 minutes may not seem long, but it's 3 minutes. She or he is getting ready to head out the door, and they have to listen to what you have to say. What would you say?
Well, I would probably tell them to keep an open mind, to be able to receive and information and to discern the things that you need, to get to proceed in this new journey. I mean, because you're coming out into society, you have to be ready. And hopefully it started before the 3 minutes of the video. What I'm saying? Because it takes a lot. Sometimes it takes a significant amount of time for us to actually be ready to enter back into society the right way. Many of us are just cast out here because our time is expired, and the system no longer is required to hold us, and so we're just released. And so hopefully it takes a lot longer to actually prepare yourself to enter back into society. But if the 3 minutes, I would tell them to keep an open mind and just to be alert to be receiving all the information that is necessary that's being given.
Okay, I heard from a woman who deals with a lot of rehabilitation and reentry. She said a support system is not necessarily what's going to help someone stay out of prison. But she said it in the context of the right support system will definitely help someone to stay out of prison. What is your take on that statement? A support system, period, general, that's not going to help anybody primarily to stay out of prison, but the right support system. Because when I first heard her, I was like, hold up, I didn't say it, but in my mind, wait a minute, everybody needs a support system, but I let it play out.
Yeah. What she probably was saying, I don't know if she was saying without actually knowing, but oftentimes a good support system or a support system, period, can be an enabling system. So no, it's not necessarily needed. It's a help. It's welcomed if you have it. But many people who have done the amount of time that I've done in the wilderness did not have that. And we had to come back into society and we found that we were alone or by ourselves. So I think the thing that is most or that worked for me is a made up mind. So they asked me, and when I graduated with the Tory program, they had nominated me for valedictorian. I was rather shocked at that, but for 2018, and so they did an interview, and they asked me what would I have done had it not been, had I not found Tory, and my answer was probably not the answer that they were looking for, and I basically told them is that I still would have succeeded because I didn't have a plan B. For some people, a plan B works. To have a concession, to have another just in case. But for me, I had a made up mind. I didn't have a plan B. I had to succeed. So I was just that determined. So that's the level of that you have to approach, coming back after being incarcerated 19 years. You have to approach it from that standpoint of view that at my age, especially, or should I say our age, we don't have a lot of time to waste, especially when we've lost precious time. Things have foregone, people have died. You just have to have a made up mind, So I didn't have a plan B. So plan A was, it had to work.
Thank you. Thank you. And so the other evening when Arsenal and myself were speaking about the subject matter of our podcast, you had contacted me after the show because we did the podcast. Then we went Facebook Live just to share and ask some questions. You said, man, I wish I would have known. I had some comments. And so what we were speaking about was a gentleman named Derek Jackson, who recently confessed with his wife on social media that he had been cheating. And my understanding is that this gentleman is a relationship expert, meaning he was disseminating information on relationship. And as his wife sat by him as he confessed this, the feedback, a lot of the comments, more than support for her staying with her husband, were negative, even until the point where they were insulting how she looked, her hair style. And so we asked the question on the podcast, why was this woman subjected? And a lot of the verbal disparaging came from women. What was the problem with that? And so then we went to Facebook Live and just said, can we get some feedback? Why are people angry and insulting her for staying with her husband? And that was the subject matter. So what would you like to chime in concerning that subject, Raymond?
Well, right, I didn't know that the conversation was being had. I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw you guys, and so I started listening and looking at some of the comments, and it was a topic that I would have been interested in communicating or sharing my thoughts and opinion about. Well, with respect to the young lady, my thoughts were for her were not along those lines with respect to her. My thoughts were about him and the situation as it affected her. The situation was being compared to the Kobe Bryant situation and fidelity that was in both of the relationships and how it affected the wives, et cetera, et cetera. And my first comment is that the difference is that Kobe Bryant was an NBA star who was cast into the limelight because of his talent, because of his job, because he was an athlete who, played basketball in the NBA. So he was in the limelight. He did not portray himself to be anything other than an NBA star. Mr. Jackson cast himself into the limelight as a relationship guru. And I have watched him and listened to him and not so much taken advice, but I've shared in some of his opinions that he's dispensed through Facebook. And he's an eloquent speaker. And a lot of the stuff that he said was major on point. But the difference is that he put himself into that position as a relationship guru. So it is different from what Kobe did, within the confines of this marriage and in his personal relationship with his wife. That is different from someone who is portraying himself to be a relationship guru and who has all the answers. And if you do so and you portray yourself to have all the answers, then you have to be living it. So I can see and understand the anger that some people have, are feeling towards him and so on and so forth. But I don't think that it rises to the level of insult or scrutiny of the wife, et cetera, et cetera. So whether or not his apology was sincere, whether or not she was a willing person in the apology process, I've seen and looked at, and heard him on TV, and Steve Harvey, everybody's talking about it and so on and so forth. I'm not really so much concerned about that. It's just the fact that when you hold yourself out to be something, then you have to bring what you're saying to the table. You have to be that which you're holding out to be. Otherwise, people, when you do that, you're held to a higher degree of accountability. And that's basically, the main thing is that he's a relationship guru and he's dispensing advice, then he's held to a higher degree of accountability. More so than someone in a personal relationship that Kobe was in with his wife that was not the subject of the media, social media, TV. A long time, we didn't even really see Vanessa for a long time. So she was not a willing participant in all of what was the NBA stuff,
Okay. And I see your viewpoint. And rather than speak about the subject matter that we were, I want to tune in on what you're saying. So let me clarify for myself. An individual who holds themselves up as a follower of some type of teaching to where they are sharing the teachings with others, they are held to a higher standard than someone who is not professing these teachings. Is that where I'm getting from you?
Yeah, exactly.
And I understand that. And the point when the comments from Facebook took that line of thinking was this. I'm going to say it again. I understand where you're coming from, but allow me to paint my picture now. You have across the United States people who tell other people, I am a Christian. When they say they are a Christian, they begin to disseminate to others the teachings of the Bible or Jesus. But a majority of these individuals in lifestyle will not only not be living it, will tell you in a moment, when a drop of a hat, oh, I ain't trying to do it like that. But if I was to look at them with disdain or say, hold on, brother, you say you're a Christian. You have told someone some teachings from Jesus. Don't you know you held to a higher standard? They will in turn say, I'm not a preacher. I'm not a leader in the church. But by definition, this conversation, bringing it home, when you espouse the teachings of anyone, as you're sharing the teachings of someone because you follow them, you, not looking at the pastor, not looking at the choir director, not looking at the deacons, looking at you, you are held to a higher standard, but you don't want that standard, but you want to put it on other people. I have a problem with that. I have a problem because just by naming the name of Christ, meaning I'm saying I am a follower of Christ, I am sharing about Christ, but I don't want the responsibilities. But everybody else, whether it's Derek Jackson, whether it's Bishop so-and-so, Pastor so-and-so, Deacon so-and-so, they, not me, are quick. Hey, you held to a higher standard. We are all, if you are a follower of Jesus Christ, we are all held to the same standard of holiness, meaning we are set apart for a specific, special reason. So that means my job, my wife, my leisure activities, what I watch, what I listen to, across the board, holy is the standard. And this is not a bash. This is not a finger point. This is, I want to get to the bottom of how is it so easy to put that responsibility on the Derek Jacksons and the pastors, but the churches are full of people who easily have manipulated themselves to believe that that's not the standard for me. What would you share?
Well, it is the standard because, as we both know, be ye holy because I am holy. But yes, the church and the members, they quickly look to, where I fall short. And of course we do. We are called to aspire to be Christ-like. We will never actually attain, that which we are aspiring to be or to live
in the full extent.
Full extent.
I understand.
So in the
full, I'm having this conversation with you because I know that you're equipped. You're equipped spiritually. You're equipped intellectually to hold this conversation. And when we attempt to hold this conversation with others, the reason that I have been hesitant on a social platform, because most people get defensive because truly what they have going on in their minds is, I know I ain't living right. And my point is not to point out, are you living right? My point is to look, I want you to look at why you judge others so harshly, but give yourself an excuse. And the whole point of me wanting to shed light on that is to say, listen, we all have room to work. But the reason we can have compassion, love, and understanding for whatever anybody else is doing wrong is because when we look in the mirror, whatever excuses we're using, whatever frailties we're confessing, give them the same credit. And before someone gets the wrong impression, I do believe there are consequences of sin.
Right.
And I just pray that anybody watching this that's listening to our conversation would understand, I am not saying it's okay, just do what you want. I am not saying if you don't get it right, don't tell somebody else how to get it right. What I am saying, stop being angry at other people's wrongs, but approving your own. Yeah. Stop approving your wrongs or condemning yourself and understand there is help. There are people around you. There are people around me who can understand what you're going through. Some of the things that I've experienced in churches, and maybe you have too, some people will actually say, man, all it is problems up in here. It's more problems associated with Christians. And my point is this, you are correct. When you choose to be in fellowship or when you choose to be in relationship with people who have problems, that does bring more problems into your life. But God gives us the ability, the capacity, the power, and the help, not only to help them, but they'll turn around and reciprocate that help, just like you do with Tori. Everybody who gets, hold on one second. Hello? Hello?
Do you like brisket?
No, don't do it. Okay, yeah, let's roll. Let's roll like that. Let's roll like that. Say, bro, you know I'm on a Zoom phone call.
I know, bro. You were answering the text. My bad.
All right, I'll see you in a few minutes, man.
Brisket, pulled pork, turkey breast. Which one?
Brisket.
All
right, bye-bye. And so what I'm hoping happens is that we understand not the building church, but when a group of called out believers come together, we're not supposed to look at one another with disdain or be like, I can't believe he did that. We're supposed to look and, you know what? I don't do what you do. I've never done what you did, but you know why I can understand and empathize with you and offer you help? Because sin is sin with God. And whatever grace, whatever mercy, whatever scripture has helped me to stop stealing or lying or being arrogant can help you to stop cheating, to stop abusing. And so we are broken people, but when we come together and you heal me and I heal you with the help that God provides, that's what makes that fellowship. That's why I believe the church demonstrates the wisdom of God. And when I say the church, people who do confess Jesus as a personal Lord and Savior, we have different races, different gangs, different economic people, meaning people are in different tax brackets. But when you look at a local body of believers, it's all mixed up. And yes, there's problems, but there's grace. And so I'm glad that I have an individual like yourself just to hold this conversation with that doesn't get a misunderstanding. We don't approve of sin. We do call it out, but at the same time, if you can't understand what Derrick Jaxn did, you're not looking close enough at your life to see why you're doing what you're doing.
That's right. And the scripture tells us, God forbid. And you know, and just to expound on what you're saying, it's the same grace. It's the same grace for what I do or have done, and that you have done differently in what you do and have done. It's the same. I'm glad that God provides. You know, there's no respect to persons with respect to dispensing that grace to those who are in need of it. Or and with respect to the anger that the people or the comments and stuff, it really wasn't so much anger. What I look at it is unconscious guilt.
Okay, come on, Green.
Unconscious guilt, because in the back, in your subconscious mind, you know who you are, and you know where you've been, and you know what you've done. You ain't talking to us. We ain't talking about you though. We talking about Derrick Jaxn. You understand what I'm saying? But subconsciously in the back of your mind. So there's some unconscious guilt that lies that causes you to come out and produce that, and it appears to be anger or bitterness and so on and so forth. It's, but again, we all fall short. So who am I to bash Derrick Jaxn?
And once again, because I always want to bring out the other side, sin has consequences. In other words, the Bible does say that God chastises them that love him. And so if there's somebody in your mind that you're thinking that, well, they saying don't correct each other, that's a lie. If it's wrong, call it wrong. But the attitude and the spirit in which you address wrongdoing, not only in your own life, but in other people's lives, we're just saying, take a look at that. Mr. Green, I have enjoyed this interview, and it's really been refreshing to me, because I know that your spiritual maturity and just knowing the word, we can look at subjects like this, and I hope to do something else in the future with some other like-minded individuals to where we can just talk. And when I say talk, speak with wisdom that is peaceable, that is loving, but is also helpful to others. And so is there anything that you'd like to share in closing?
Well, again, man, I appreciate the opportunity of coming to know you as an individual on a personal level. I appreciate the opportunity of being a part of the podcast. And by all means, man, include me in. Love what you guys are doing. Love how God is continuing to you. And one of the things that I mentioned to Yancey and a few other people, man, it's really it's really not a lot of people. It's a few. It's a wonderful thing to know that the person I met on the inside, you that person out here. You know what I'm saying? And that's a wonderful thing, because I've met people out here, and they ain't the guy that I met on the inside. You know what I'm saying? So we pray for those who, you know, are in that type of situation. And as you know, being incarcerated, you know, we tell the stories, we sit on the front bench and we hoopla and hoopla. And a lot of times you can be whoever you say you are on the inside. But when they remove the yellow line and you got to walk the walk out here, I appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate you for being the real person that you are, that you were then, that you still are today.
Thank you, Mr. Green. And that reminds me, I'm saying thank you publicly. Once I was released, there were some stipulations and some things that I had to learn, and Green answered the phone and has continued to answer the phone just to help me navigate the different rules and stipulations that I must abide under to keep my freedom. So thank you for that, because I know you're not just doing that for me, you've done it for others, but I'm acknowledging that publicly, because the same way people will air out their dirty laundry on social media, oh, I ain't getting no help and this happening and that. Well, I've received help, and Mr. Green is one of the individuals that gave me help. And so thank you. And I look forward to speaking with you again.